42.
Ciao popoli Lega Nerd, sono a Bologna al Biografilm Festival dove cinema e musica si incontrano, come nel caso di Rumble, The Indians Who Rocked the World, film di Alfonso Maiorana che ci fa scoprire le origini della musica rock, blues e jazz che non arrivano da dove noi pensiamo, ma bensì giungono dai nativi americani. Un film documentario veramente interessante, raccontato sia da un punto di vista storico, ma anche da un punto di vista di chi il rock l'ha fatto e l'ha vissuto, così come le grandi star del rock, un esempio è hip hop, oppure i grandi nomi del jazz e del blues, senza dimenticare grandissimi nomi del cinema come per esempio Martin Scorsese. Ho intervistato per voi Alfonso Maiorana, che è un italo-canadese, abbiamo fatto questa conversazione bellissima dove abbiamo anche discusso sul cinema italiano. Se siete curiosi di sapere quello che mi ha raccontato, io vi consiglio di restare con me. Rumble racconta come la musica dei nativi abbia influenzato totalmente la musica contemporanea e tu lo fai attraverso il punto di vista di quelle grandi rockstar contemporanee che appunto sono state molto influenzate. Come ti è venuta in mente questa idea e cosa ti ha portato poi a raccontare questa storia?
So the idea comes first from Stevie Salis and Tim Johnson, who were the executive producers of the film Rumble. They created an exhibit at the museum in Washington at the Smithsonian, which was basically honoring Native American culture and pop culture. And there was a section on music, and which was a small section at the time. And they, by chance, were in Canada during a film festival, a documentary film festival, and they met my producers and my co-director, Catherine Bainbridge, and one of the producers, Christina Fawn, and they sort of had a little conversation about this exhibit. And my two producers knew how much I'm a big fan of music, and especially some of the Native American musicians that were at this museum. So they asked me what I thought, if we should do a feature film, and should I get involved. And I jumped on the idea because music has always been part of my life since I was a kid, and I had done fictional films where music was basically an integral part of my stories. So when we sat down and decided to speak about this possibility of doing a feature film, we all got pretty excited and said this would be something that needs to be done. So that's how we kind of agreed on getting on this long journey.
Quando si parla di jazz e blues si pensa subito alla musica afroamericana, in questo film invece tu hai capovolto tutto quanto. Tu personalmente come hai fatto questa scoperta? Cioè lo hai sempre saputo con la tua cultura musicale oppure è una cosa più, tra virgolette, recente?
Io sapevo un po' perché ho studiato la musica, sapevo sempre che questo rock and roll era il beat dei 4/4, sai, 4/4 beat. Mm-hmm. And then the jazz beat was a different, and the African beat, coming from Montreal and from Canada, and having lots of friends that were from Caribbean islands and Africa, and you hear that music, you hear the beat, and then you hear native beat, and you kind of always wonder, but you don't make the association until we dug down deep and we went into the South, and we went into Mississippi and New Orleans, and that's where we really discovered the story. Even though when we spoke to all these great musicians who tell you, they tell you, this is a 4/4 beat. This is native. We needed to prove all this. So we needed to hear the music. We needed to ask experts on the examination of each beat, and the jazz beat, the jazz vocal. How do we figure out if this is true? And so we had lots of help from experts, but also from rock stars, jazz stars, and they were able to confirm the influence of Native American music, which is deep, comes from the earth, comes from the land, and it comes from the water, the birds, all that stuff. Native Americans, that's how they mimicked music. So then it all makes sense, when you watch the film and you hear the beats, you hear the people, the way they sing, and then again, it's not to say that African Americans didn't influence music, because it's incredible what they've done for American music and for blues and jazz, and also European music, how they've influenced American music. But we can't forget the Native American experience, the Native American music, because they were there first. And if they were there first, they were playing music first. They were playing music. Somehow they were producing sounds and music and voices. So I think Rumble gives them that voice.
Tu hai origini italiane, ma hai studiato praticamente all'estero, e poi come dei grandissimi maestri, un esempio è Francis Ford Coppola. Credo che tu possa avere un punto di vista oggettivo e anche un po' soggettivo, considerando le tue origini. Secondo te la condizione attuale del cinema italiano qual è?
It's a good question. I was, I grew up watching Italian films all my life because, when my parents wanted to watch films, they wanted to first show us all the Italian films, Visconti, Antonioni, Pasolini, Fellini. All this was ingrained in my mind, and so I learned a lot from watching those films, and it gave me an identity, which I think always comes out culturally whatever you're doing. Even though I'm born in Canada and I have a lot of Canadian, I'm proud to be Canadian, I have a lot of roots there. Somehow, your cultural roots in your art always comes out. Now, being here at the film festival, Biografilm Festival, which I'm honored to be here, gives me a chance to see all these great Italian filmmakers make their films, because we don't get to see these films in Canada. And especially documentaries, which gives you a perspective of what's going on in the country, in every region of Italy. And those films we don't get to see in Canada. We always get to see great films, which is a new, now Sorrentino, abbiamo avuto Tornatore un tempo, it's all very good, very nostalgic when we watch it, in Canada. Oh, guardi queste belle storie, sono italiane, sono belle, però sono sicuro che ci sono altre storie di più, and something more independent, more raw. And I don't know if the distribution of these films is maybe lacking, or maybe, unfortunately, North America only wants to see those type of films that are very, nostalgic and romantic, but very good films, though, But I don't know why, the independent and hard-edged films that I'm sure exist in Italy are not being transmitted to North America. I hope maybe there's not enough distribution in Italy as well. Enough TV distribution that people can show their documentaries on, and have many windows of opportunity to show their art. Because people make different films. People make films about music, about art, about language, about personal experiences, about the human condition. So there should be somehow almost a channel for every single film, even about sports, There's nothing wrong with a sports documentary, for instance, or a sports film. I think Italians and filmmakers and artists need that gallery, that art gallery to be open so that they can show their talent. Because Italians are very talented. and that's without a doubt.
Non sempre lo sfrutta benissimo, insomma, questo talento.
Quello lo sapete più voi che me, ma infatti, sai, c'era un tempo che io mi ricordo andavo al festival a Montreal e c'era sempre una decina di film italiani. Questo ti parlo di 96 e fino all'anno 2000, ma gli ultimi 15 anni non ne vedo più.
Ma adesso anche i festival italiani, non so, io penso a Venezia, il più importante che abbiamo qui in Italia, sono pochissimi film italiani, sono tutti film internazionali, assolutamente.
E questo
sono
un po' peccato.
Pochissimissimi proprio, è incredibile.
Ma sai, ci vuole un po', there needs to be a balance. It's good, yeah, it's good to have international films. But then somehow, if you make room for those international films from the outside, which is good because we need to know about other cultures, it's very important. So then we want to know about the Italian culture, what's going on now. So Italian distributors have to, allow Italian filmmakers to show their films in the US, in Canada, in Australia, in somewhere else besides Italy also.
C'è sempre un po' di speranza.
Sì, credo che
c'è
sì.
sempre un pochino quella per fortuna almeno di voler cambiare, soprattutto di dare più spazio alle persone più giovani che hanno tante idee.
Sì.
Ci sono, quindi non ci sono sempre solo gli stessi, c'è anche tanto.
Sì,
Bisogna solo un po' dargli più spazio, ecco,
come lei.
equilibrare. Va bene, grazie mille.
Grazie mille.
This has gone too long under the radar.